European Super League.
It's frying my
Anton,
brain.
for those who don't know what the European Super League is, can you tell us?
So what I'm going to do first, a Wikipedia entry, just so I can be as accurate as possible. So the 2020 proposed European Super League. Sky Sports claimed that FIFA was proposing a replacement for the UEFA Champions League. Keyword replacement. This won't be alongside the Champions League. It will replace it. It'll be called the European Super League, involving up to 18 teams in a round-robin system and post-league playoff-style knockout tournament with no relegation, similar to the MLS, which is the American Premier League or United States Premier League, whatever you want to call it. It will be including teams from the Premier League, Spain, Italy, France, Germany. Barcelona have accepted the proposal to join the Super League, but this was when their former president, Bartomeu, was, in charge, but he's not there anymore, so things might be different on their half. In January this year, FIFA and 6 of football's continental confederations issued a statement rejecting the formation of any breakaway European Super League. So what is if Manchester United, for example, when Tottenham were to accept that they wanted to be in the Super League and it actually happened, it came to fruition, we would leave the Premier League and play in a separate league. That's what a breakaway would mean. I think that would have put it as simply as possible. Personally, I don't agree with it because I think it's all about money. I don't want to see any team leave the Premier League or leave La Liga. Imagine La Liga without Barcelona and Real Madrid. Imagine the Premier League without United, Arsenal, Liverpool and Chelsea, Serie A without Juventus, Bundesliga without Bayern Munich. It's, I guess on paper, if you saw a league table and saw every big team.
Yeah, as a fan, I mean, not as a fan, but as a football neutral, you'd be like, oh yeah, this is amazing. I'm paying my money for this.
Yeah.
And that's where the business element comes into it. It's all about the money. However, as a fan of a football club, you're completely against this because this isn't what football's about. Football's about getting to the position, getting to the heights of the Premier League based on ability, based on working for it. But now just having a separate league just for the best only, it just takes away the element of competition. It takes away the element of just starting from ground up. Someone already commented earlier, if Chelsea support this disgraceful proposition, I'm done with the football club. And yeah, I'm sure many fans are feeling like this, Tottenham as well. And yeah, what do you say about this?
I have a few points on this. I don't know. This probably wasn't from anywhere, a source that was legitimate, but I saw a few months ago that if, say, for example, the Premier League allowed us to join the Super League, we'd still be able to play in the Premier League because the way the Super League might have worked, if I'm remembering correctly from somewhere on Twitter that I saw a few months ago, it would have been like midweek games. It wouldn't have actually impacted the Premier League matches against Burnley or Aston Villa on the weekend. It would have been that sort of formation. And if it was like that, and we were still able to play in the Premier League, and we were still able to play in the League Cup and the FA Cup, I wouldn't be as against it as I am now, but I still would be against it. Because as I said before in the statement, it would replace the Champions League. So yeah, we have all the big teams from across Europe playing against each other week in, week out. But look at teams like Apoel Nicosia, team like Rangers who just managed to get in the Champions League. That would all be gone. They wouldn't be able to play European football at the highest level. That's the only criticism I have of it. It's like a capitalism in football. The rich teams get richer, and the teams who aren't there just yet seem to just fall into nothing. And one of the main criticisms that I've been seeing a lot of people, a lot of pundits, a lot of people on Twitter talk about is the fact that, especially in England, during the pandemic, National League teams went bust. Teams weren't able to pay their players their wages. Teams within the Football League were going into administration. And Gary Neville said they're having Zoom calls in the background talking about forming this new Super League. It's terrible. it's an American idea. It copies the American league style system with the playoffs and zero relegations. The Glazers, the FSG family, two other American owners within the Premier League. Those are the people that, along with Florentino Perez from Real Madrid, those are the people that originally thought of this idea. And I think it just goes to show that football is going further and further away from actual football and competition and emotion.
Anything to benefit their pockets,
they're
going to agree to, whether it impacts the fans or whatever. They don't care. It's about what goes into their pockets, because to them, they're business, they're businessmen and women, and that's what all they care about. But they know nothing about football. Gary Neville, obviously, he was saying how the Glazers or whatever, they don't know anything about football.
Yeah.
They probably won't do an interview because they're just too scared to face anything.
Yep.
And probably from all this backlash already, even though it hasn't officially come out, but all this already, they're probably going to pretend that, oh, they never said anything and this is not going to happen or whatever. And I don't know. It just came out, I think, at halftime during our game. And why would they get rid of the Champions League just for this? How would they want to watch that? I'd prefer the Champions League, where, as you said, a team like Rangers could be there. Maybe a team like a West Ham could be in the Champions League, but now just because they're not a top 6 team, then they can't be in the Super League or whatever. It's just...
I mean, you're looking at as well the UEFA apparently going to make the Champions League bigger with more teams allowed to enter, just coming out at the same time as this. It's all it's a tricky one for me because, as you said before, as a neutral fan, watching big games every week, before the novelty wears off, it will draw people in. People will watch it regardless of what they think now. I'm against it, fully against it. But what if we're playing Munich next week and the week after we're playing Man City, then we're playing Real Madrid? I'm watching that. As a fan, I'm watching it. But I don't want all of the other things to happen. I don't want to have to quit the Premier League, the FA Cup, Champions League, League Cup. I don't want that to happen. However, I will say, if they proposed an idea where there was a trial year, where they tried it out and saw what the reaction was, saw what impact it had on domestic leagues, if it was unsuccessful, cool, you've tried it, admit your defeat and go back to normality. But if it works out for the better for everyone, and if they had like a second division and eventually introduced a relegation system where the domestic leagues will never be impacted, but teams like West Ham can qualify for the second division of the European Super League. If that was to happen after a trial year, which was successful, then I don't see how people can be against it, because it is something new, and new things don't really happen in football of this.
But the thing is, the main problem is the fact that it's exclusively these top teams.
Yeah, because that's
going to happen. Obviously, it's going to generate numbers because people are going to tune in because the big names.
Yeah.
All in one league. It's going to generate the numbers, going to generate the money. All this money is going to go to the clubs. And this is where the problem is, because with the football pyramid within the UK, money from the Premier League trickles down to the lower leagues.
Yeah.
However, if the big clubs were to enter Super League, these lower league teams, as you said, during lockdown, players were furloughed, managers, staff lost their jobs. And having something like this, the fact that even discussing this with the climate we're currently in, to non-league teams, this must feel like an insult.
Get kicked in the teeth. It's terrible.
Like, they're already going through all this trouble, and now you're seeing the big clubs wanted to expand their pockets and not have anything trickle down to the lower leagues. I think as a owner, even Gary Neville owns Salford City, who are in the lower leagues. The fact that he's also against this just shows how much it can affect all these clubs.
Yeah.
And I think it shouldn't happen. I mean, if it was to happen, as you said, if they trial it out, see how it goes. But overall, I think there's more negatives than positives to it.
Yeah. I think I can sit here now and say all of this. You can say all of this, but I do think it will happen. Whether or not all of the teams originally proposed to enter, I think there will be a European Super League. I just hope that Manchester United and the big teams from the Premier League come to their senses and stay clear.
I mean, you're saying to me off camera that the Premier League has to authorize these teams to enter, and it's most likely that they wouldn't authorize it. So if teams were to enter, would they be able to play Premier League and European Super League? Or
so if the Premier League, changed their mind and said, yeah, you can do the European Super League, then they would still be able to play in the Premier League. But if the Premier League said, no, you can't, and then we still decided we wanted to play in the European Super League, then we'd get kicked out of the Premier League. So Manchester United would no longer be a Premier League team. Now, I don't know what further implications that holds in terms of if the European Super League, flopped, and then would we be allowed back in the Premier League, or would we have to go through the
work our way up?
Yeah. I don't know what you think about that.
Working our way up from grassroots football to Premier League. I'd pay to watch that though.
Lads, I've got a match at Old Trafford on Sunday. Do you want to come through it? I don't know. I don't know how that would work, but I don't want it. I don't want to have to cross that bridge.